Hi guys, welcome to On Air with me, your host, Abigail Ratchford, and today is actually episode 7. I cannot believe it. Today's theme is sex and life and sex lives and how to have a very fun and adventurous sex life while also maintaining your own self-respect and keeping your boundaries intact. So let's get into it.
One of the things that you wanted to discuss was dressing for success and the fine line between dressing too sexually and dressing like a Mormon and how to find that fine line and how you do it. So do you want to get into that?
Yes. So I think that that initial first date, like the first time you hang out with a guy, you really want to come across the way that you want the guy to see you. And a lot of things are kind of in your control on that first initial meeting. So you definitely want to come across as being confident. So nobody's saying like wear a turtleneck and cover up like you're a Mormon. But you also want to kind of look classy and sophisticated while also looking sexy, obviously. But I feel like that's such an important, crucial like first meeting because that's where a guy really decides if you're going to just be some kind of hookup or fling or if you're girlfriend material. So
Yeah, did you like ever have an experience where you dressed like too crazy and you're like regretted it after?
I don't think I ever did on purpose, but there's been times where like I was out with my girlfriends and we went to something like crazy, like Rolling Loud or something, and I was dressed like very, out there and met a guy there, and then we ended up going on a date like a couple weeks after, and I felt awkward because I'm like, oh my god, you literally just saw me 2 weeks ago and I had like nipple tassels on, like shaking my ass to like rap music.
Do you like Rolling Loud?
Oh my god, yeah.
Really? Which one
I haven't
have you
been,
seen there?
I've gone to the one in Miami. I went to like twice, and then I was supposed to just go to this one in LA, but I didn't.
Who'd you see?
Oh my god, this is like right before COVID. It was like 2019. I don't even know who was there.
Yeah.
Just a ton of people.
Like it was just the vibes. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't about the show. Like so like how do you personally find a balance between dressing too conservatively and dressing like more sexually?
I would say probably my rule that I follow is like only show off one body part at once. So if you're going to wear something low cut, then it should be like a bodysuit or a jumpsuit. So your legs aren't showing, your butt's not showing, obviously. And I would say definitely accessorize it with like high-end looking things. Like I always wear like Chanel earrings or like a Chanel belt and a nice clutch and stuff. And then I would say maybe depending on like where you live, it's always nice to bring like a little kind of like like blazer. If you're wearing something like tight, like a low cut bodysuit with jeans or something, like a little kind of blazer, just so you have the option to like play around with it. So you don't arrive like with everything kind of already on display.
Yeah. Is Chanel like your number one?
Yeah, I love
really?
Chanel.
Yeah, it's so like Audrey Hepburn and like
I
classy.
love Chanel.
Yeah. Oh, this is such a good question on this topic. Do you have any like inspo like examples of people that you think that dress like too conservatively or that have like a good balance, or people that dress too crazy and like need to find a balance?
You know what? I was just actually having this conversation with somebody a couple of days ago because we were talking about like I forget how this came. Oh, okay. I was doing some kind of Q&A on my story, and I always get asked, like, if you were going to have a movie of yourself, who would you want to play you? And I said Scarlett Johansson the once, and somebody was like, what? And I'm like, no, like, I feel like in the last couple of years, she's really, like, mommed it up with her dress. But, like, a couple of years ago, like, you don't even realize how insane her body is, and she has these big boobs and stuff, and she's like so sexy, but I feel like she really covers up a lot to the point that it's like, okay, you're not like 50 years old yet, like kind of show a little bit more, but I guess it's her prerogative. But I feel like she definitely should show off a little bit more.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes when you have like such a crazy body, it's hard to even dress conservatively, even when you're in like a suit.
For sure. And I feel like she probably got kind of cast into roles for a long time based on her like sex appeal. And maybe she's just at a point where she wants to be kind of taken more seriously or something. I don't know what her motive is, but.
Yeah. Have you ever like found yourself looking down at other girls because you're like, oh my God, like not the time or place to be wearing this?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah. I know it's such a hard thing to admit, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so let's get into past relationships and experiences. Have
Okay.
you ever sort of had a guy that wasn't comfortable with you, like dressing how you wanted to dress?
Yeah, this actually happened like recently. I don't know if I told you guys a story. So I was on a vacation with somebody he wasn't like, we were kind of like seeing each other, and he just acted psychotic when we got to like Miami.
God.
Yeah,
Like at the beach or at the club?
both.
Oh my God. Like
Yeah,
about everything?
just like crazy jealous, possessive, and I was just like, are you fucking crazy? Like, are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
That can be like attractive sometimes, but that sounds like a lot.
Not that early on.
Do you ever think that like a little bit of jealousy is like kind of cute, or is it just like,
It has to be like the right place, right time. But something like that, I'm like, listen, like we will never get along because I don't like anyone ever
yeah,
telling me like what
Right.
to, you know what I mean? So
yeah? How did you like handle it? Did you just kind of have to like do whatever to like get through
no,
the
I was
trip?
just like, after that, my entire mood changed
Yeah.
completely, and I was like, yeah, because I'm not good at like faking.
Yeah.
So like, I was just like disgusted for the
Yeah.
rest of the time.
Do you think he caught on, or was he just like,
Oh yeah,
clueless?
for sure.
Oh,
he knew.
really?
Yeah.
That is so funny. Is that like a full like deal breaker for you?
Yeah.
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 This is something that we talked about in the last podcast, basically about waiting at least 4 dates before having sex. Do you think if guys like get the idea that you're into that, like that can just be based off of your clothing?
Probably. I think maybe just like your clothing, and then just don't drink too much on the first date. Don't overshare. Again, sometimes we want to like expedite that like bonding with somebody and, you know, make it seem
Yeah.
like we've known them forever. But in reality, it's better to kind of just pace yourself both ways, like sexually and emotionally. Like, don't be emotionally slutty and just
Yeah.
share everything at once. Watch how much you drink, because obviously the more alcohol you have, like the lower your inhibitions are and all that stuff. And then, of course, don't ever tell anyone how long they're going to have to wait to have sex. Because if you're like, yeah, I have like a 4-date rule, then they're going to
Yeah.
be on their best behavior
And then
for
fifth
4
date,
days.
it's like you never hear from
They're
them again.
like gone, ghosted. So definitely gotta just, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's so overwhelming. There's so many like secret rules for
I
women.
know.
Yeah. Do you think that like you need to make like a burn book, but for like secret like rules for girls that like only girls can have access to? I feel like.
Yeah, and that's what I talked about on the last podcast. That so many girls will be like, "Oh my God, no! It's like 2023. We don't need to listen to all these like old rules and everything. Like it's whatever." But it's, again, men are just wired differently.
Yeah.
So you can try to kind of fight against like whatever is proven to work, or you can just kind of accept it and just
Yeah.
put on like a little bit of a chase in the beginning, and get the guy to act the way that you want him to act.
Have
So.
you ever like held out for too long
Um,
and kind of been like, all right, fine, like
I'm trying to think. Probably not. No, like usually
you
like
think you're
around
good
the
at like
same,
understanding
yeah.
when
Yeah.
like is the right time?
Yeah, I think maybe I did. There was like one time where I did, and I think the guy started to think I was just like not attracted to him.
Yeah.
So he was like losing steam, and I was like, no, like I think he
Yeah.
was starting to get a little bit like insecure, like
Yeah.
thought I just wasn't into him. So I kind of had to be like, no, I really like think you're
Yeah.
great, but yeah.
Have guys ever like love bombed you in that situation where they like do too much because they really want to like win you over?
Yeah, and that
Really?
just backfires.
Please tell me like what has happened.
Oh my God, that
How do
happens
you
all
even
the
love bomb
time.
Abigail Retchford? Like what do you send her that she doesn't have?
I don't know. They just really try.
Like, you know what I mean?
This one guy, this is like kind of recently, I've never even met this guy, and he sent me like $70,000
Oh,
over the course of like 2 months.
that
but
is
still,
insane.
I know. And then he bought me a Peloton bike and sent me like all these bouquets of flowers. And I'm like, okay, you're really doing too much. But then he started to get psychotic.
Oh my
Like
God.
I wasn't
really?
replying to his messages. And I'm like, hey, I'm busy. Like I'm doing something. And he's like, well, how are you posting on Instagram and Twitter? And I'm like, oh,
Because that's the thing
you
that
just
I'm
ruined
doing.
it. You really just ruined it. Like it's over.
Yeah. Guys like that, you just have to give like your OnlyFans link to.
Yeah, I
and be
know.
like, here you can send it here. Like, I'm like, I'll take the 20%. No.
Well, that's how I met him on OnlyFans.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Because
Like,
he bought a what's it called? FaceTime with me, a 30-minute FaceTime for like $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, this guy must be like something, whatever.
Yeah.
And then he was nice in the beginning, but just, again, when somebody starts, like, questioning me that early on, it's like, you ruined it. It's done.
How do you, like, handle those FaceTimes? That is so interesting to me.
I don't even know. Like, first of all, I kept canceling it because I was like, I really don't want to do this. Like, this whatever. And then I don't know.
I feel like I would, like, black out. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, it's
not like
weird.
drinking. I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't know how to, like, handle it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, I guess that's, like, interesting to have someone that admires you so much, like, right there live.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, he's good looking.
Yeah. And he had money.
Yeah. But then again, the smothering, I don't like that.
Yeah.
It's, like, instantly over for me once it happens.
Well, on the topic of communication with past relationships, when other guys that you have been, like, sort of seeing love bombed you, how do you communicate that isn't it for you? Do you kind of just, like, ghost, or do you, like...
Yeah. Well, I feel like I'll kind of be, like, a little bit distant, and then they'll ask, like, what's wrong? And I'm like, you know what? I just need some space. Like, I have a lot of stuff going on. I don't like somebody trying to take up all my time, kind of, and see if they get the hint. And if they don't, then it's like, ghost. I don't have time to, like, train a man to act the way that I want, you know?
Yeah. So. Have you ever, like, felt like you were training a man before?
Yeah.
Really?
But the thing is, I don't have the patience to do that. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I don't want somebody to act totally different than they are, because then it's like, okay, now you're just acting like this because you know that that's what I'm, like, into.
Yeah, you know? It's like, you don't even like that. You just like that I like that.
Yeah, like, I like somebody who's naturally like that, naturally has their own stuff going on, so they don't have time to just be up my ass all day long. And that's something that can't really be, like, taught. Yeah. You know?
If you could, like, train a man to have the perfect personality for you, like, what would that be?
Funny, laid back, smart, like, down to earth. I don't like people who are very stuck up. Yeah. Somebody who's, like, low key with their wealth, like, not showy all over social media. That's like
rented Lamborghinis.
Yeah, exactly.
So gross. Is it do you think it's more difficult to find guys that, like, let you be independent? Because I know you're super independent.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of times guys think that they want to date, like, Abigail Ratchford, until they actually start dating me, and then they're like, I don't know if I could deal with this, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts with that.
Yeah, it's not even like I don't do anything wrong. Yeah. But I think sometimes they just don't realize, like, all the different things that go along with it, you know?
Yeah. Have any, like, fans ever found guys that you were dating and, like...
Not online, no.
That's good.
They've come up to me. Like, I've been places with ex-boyfriends before, like, at dinner and stuff, and, like, a group of good-looking guys who are on a bachelor party will come up and be like, oh, my God, we're huge fans. And, like, my boyfriend would be like, Jesus, like... they see what the fans look like in real life, and they're all, like, good-looking guys, like, in their 30s with money, you know?
Yeah. I feel like it's low-key attractive, though, to have a guy be put in that situation and, like, not think twice of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, protect you, but also be like, oh, like, do your thing. That's awesome that, like, you know.
No, for sure.
That's such a hard, like, line to cross.
I know.
On the topic of communication and timing, you had mentioned that setting a specific timeline for sex can be counterproductive. Have you ever, like, done this? Like, sort of said to a guy, like, you know, like, after 4 dates, or is that, like, not?
No, I never really, like, say, because, again, they could just try to, you know, be on their best behavior for 4 dates. But I don't think I've ever had that conversation. No.
What's, like, the, like, classic Abigail Ratchford curve text that's, like, not happening? Like, what is, like, are you like, I'm good? Like, what do you even say?
Like, I have to go home. I have a shoot early tomorrow or something. Like, I don't really ever try to put myself in a situation. Yeah. Or, like, if they take me home first, I'll be like, good night, I had fun. But never let them, like, get the idea that they're, like, coming inside or something.
Have you ever, like, had a date where you're, like, as soon as you get there, you're like, oh, fuck, like, this is not happening? Or has it always been people that you've, like, vetted out?
Yeah, it's usually always people I've vetted out. I've never, like, blindly gone into something. Yeah. Because that would be horrible.
Yeah, that's the most awkward thing ever.
Yeah.
I'm like, thank God you don't have to use Grindr. Okay. So do you have any tips for women when it comes to communicating, like, desires, either sexually or just in general? Like, what's the best way to communicate these things? Because I know people find it really awkward or uncomfortable.
Yeah. I feel like that's, again, something that, like, shouldn't even be brought up until you're seeing somebody exclusively, you know. I feel like if it's too early on and a guy starts asking you stuff that's like very personal and invasive, that's like a red flag. That's just like all he's kind of, you know what I mean? So it's like very case specific, but I've never really had that kind of conversation with anyone until I'm like seeing them for, you know, a couple months maybe.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. How does that conversation like go for you?
I don't even know.
Is it? I feel like it's really natural, so you don't like pinpoint.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of just happens.
With like partners that you've had in the past, I know one of the things that we've talked about, never on the podcast, but just in general, is love languages. What do you think yours are?
I think mine is probably physical touch and maybe like words of affirmation. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like what about your partners? What are they usually like? Love language wise?
Probably like physical touch maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like acts of service.
Yeah.
I'm like, make that chair because I'm not making the IKEA chair. Like make it for me. Like
Okay guys, so like we always do, we're going to get into some of the questions from the viewers that I put on my Instagram. I think we chose like the top 10 favorite ones. So here we go.
Cool. Okay, so do you think dressing classily will make a man more attracted to you, or is it more about your own sort of inner worth and self-respect?
I think it's kind of both, because I think when you feel like a queen and you feel like everybody's not like staring at you, spilling out of your outfit, you kind of, it just changes the way that you carry yourself. But I think that it's the man definitely will see you in a different light if you stand out in that way and not just like showing everything.
Yeah. Have you ever like gone on a date where you can tell the guy isn't feeling great about himself? Or is it always like,
I'm trying to think.
Do you know what I mean? Like you can tell his energy like usually is there, but it just isn't.
Yeah. Not really like in that way. Probably more so the same guy that I was saying was like super jealous and stuff. I feel like he was just very threatened by other guys. And it was just like, it just brought him down so many points, because I think confidence is a must.
Yeah, why do you think guys that like can be wealthy and attractive and have everything going for them still, like why do you think they still can be jealous?
I don't know. I have no idea.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's because everything else is there. Like all the puzzle pieces are there. Like why are you still insecure?
I mean, I feel like guys are just weird. Like they operate from their ego, and there's always a guy that's going to be richer or hotter or, you know, better body or something. So I guess some guys let it get to their head, but I don't really even notice, you know?
And they get the text that says I have a shoot tomorrow. Yeah. And they don't get to come in. Do you think it's more difficult to date in entertainment, or do you think it's a benefit because there's a more elite selection of men?
I personally like would never want to date somebody else who's in the spotlight. I feel like the majority of my significant relationships have been people that are successful, but they're like off the grid. They don't really rely on social media. Most of them don't even have it. That's like more my style, because I wouldn't want a guy that's on Instagram, you know, getting a ton of attention. So kind of a hypocritical thing to say. But
I know. Yeah, that's like fine. And like men on Instagram, that's not for men to do. Yeah. Like it's for girls. Like that is not a men. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And so when it comes to sexual history, I feel like you might have talked about this before, but do you think that it's important to eventually discuss sexual history, or is that something that is like never talked about?
I don't think that there's any point to do it. I feel like maybe if it's like a specific question, like, oh, have you ever had a threesome? Whatever. You could be like, yeah, I mean, hasn't like, but you don't need to get into specifics, details, body counts. That's when people start to get like very jealous, when you start digging up somebody's past. And I mean, we all have a past. We've all, you know, done things, but I feel like it's kind of better to just leave some things as a little bit mysterious. Yeah. So.
Yeah, when you put it all out there, it's kind of like, well, there's no like fantasy anymore. It's just kind of boring. So when it comes to like your friends that aren't quite getting it, like how do you communicate to them? Do you think it's like not your place, or do you like want to look out for them and like help them out?
I do try to help them out, but I feel like sometimes it's hard because you don't want to be like insulting. But there has been some times where one of my friends or multiple people have been like very just kind of had bad, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Bad luck with men, I guess.
Yeah.
And I kind of had to have a talk like, listen, you are gorgeous. You have everything going for you, but maybe don't just like sleep with them right away, because I feel like you're kind of recycling this experience and you're in control of that. Like you could set the pace. So
yeah, that's
you know?
really interesting. How do you think someone can break those cycles?
I saw something the other day that made sense. It was like women are the gatekeepers of sex, men are the gatekeepers of commitment. So it's like the woman it's up to basically the girl when you guys are gonna have sex, because any guy would be like right then and there. You know what I mean? So I feel like sometimes girls don't even realize that they have that much power. And as soon as you realize, like, if I don't want to ever have sex with this guy, I don't have to. I don't owe you anything. Like, what, you took me out to dinner a couple times? I don't owe you anything ever.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, not enough people talk about how men are sluts.
Yeah.
Like fully sluts.
Yeah.
And it's like never, it doesn't matter how crazy they are.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's just so annoying to constantly see cheating narratives and no one cares about the men. I mean, recently I think people have cared more about men cheating, but it's always about the woman. And it's like,
no, that is true.
it's never like he cheated. It's always she got cheated on.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like they make her like like they make it seem like there's something wrong with the woman, that she can't keep a guy faithful and a guy loyal and all this stuff. And like even in this last week, I think I tweeted something. Oh, because like Becky G, do you know Becky G? Supposedly her fiance just cheated on her or something.
Oh, I saw that.
And then somebody was like, if Becky G gets cheated on, there's no hope for the rest of us. And I was like, Becky G, Emrata, Shakira, Beyonce. I'm like, when are you guys going to realize it doesn't matter?
It's not
how hot and successful and amazing that the woman is. If a guy's a dirtbag, that's just his moral code. Like that's his moral compass. He's going to just, you can't stop a guy who's going to cheat from cheating.
Yeah. So. Do you think that's like a nature or nurture thing? Like, you know
I do. Definitely.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of like lifestyle choices and things like that maybe make a man more likely to cheat. But I feel like sometimes you just kind of, it's the way that they were raised, the way that they, so. Yeah,
it's interesting because you can align like the person who is renting the Lamborghini is probably a cheater. Like the people who have to flash the ego are probably not faithful. And it's weird how it all sort of lines up like that.
That is true.
So you mentioned that not drinking too much on a first date is really important. Do you think that alcohol can have place in a sexy let me restate that. Do you think alcohol has a place in a healthy sex life?
Yeah, I think so. I think like you shouldn't be like, oh my God, I need alcohol to relax around this person. But of course, when you're first getting to know someone and you guys are kind of asking like more intimate questions as you get to like learn each other, it's nice to have like a glass of wine or two. It's like a social lubricant almost. Like it makes you feel like, okay, I can like loosen up a little bit. But you shouldn't be like slamming shots, you know, because then you're just like bound to say something that you shouldn't say.
Have you ever had any guys do that?
Like get too drunk?
Yeah.
I don't even know. Probably, but not like anytime recently.
That's good.
Yeah, not like
any. That's the most uncomfortable thing.
Yeah.
Or like going out with a friend that gets too drunk and you're like their designated friend and everyone's like kind of putting that on you and you're like, ugh. Actually,
there was this guy that was like with like E! Network that I went on a group dinner with. It wasn't like a date, but this is like probably like 2 or 3 years ago. Because he wanted to pitch this show, and he ended up getting like shit faced at the dinner. No. He had his business partner with him, and I had my cousin, my male cousin, and he was like so drunk, and he embarrassed himself so bad. And then I like wouldn't ever meet with them again, and I kind of felt bad because I'm like, should I give this guy a chance?
Yeah,
like another chance. But he like ruined the business dinner basically by just.
Did he apologize or was it?
Yeah. He's like, I'm sorry, the jet lag hit me and I took some like, I don't know, allergy medicine and then the too many cocktails. But he's
my God.
A mess at
Off
dinner.
rip, like that is crazy.
Yeah, it was bad. So
I could see you like having multiple dinners with him and then like he just like does that randomly and it's like, oh, okay, I guess that's a one-off thing. Yeah. But off a rip is like, oh my God,
I know, yeah.
So what are some red flags to look out for when you're dating someone new? Like on the first few dates and you're starting to see them, what are some things that have popped up that you're like, okay? this is a red
So
flag.
if a guy speaks poorly about like his ex or other girls that he's dated, or ever says anything bad like sexually about them, that's like red flag. You know what I mean? Like you should never kiss and tell.
Yeah. That is such an uncomfortable thing. What do you like if you have something like that happen? Do you just kind of like, do you like even confront that, or you just like note
No,
it?
you just note in your like in your mind that you'll probably never see them again.
Yeah.
You know? Like depending on if it's something like small in passing, but if it's something that's kind of substantial, you're just like, okay, like let's not make this awkward. I'm not gonna like run out of this like dinner, but obviously I'm probably never gonna see this person again.
Yeah. Have you ever had to like remedy your friends like after they've been like cheated on or broken up with? Have you ever had to like come over with Ben and Jerry's and like what is that like experience with Abigail? Like,
yeah, I never came over with Ben and Jerry's, but I'm like,
you're like soy ice cream.
Almond milk. No.
Yeah.
I'm pretty funny with like roasting people.
Yeah.
So of course that's like instantly like what you want to hear when you're heartbroken is like saying like the guy ain't shit and stuff. But like I go in for the jugular. Like I'll find out like I'll notice like the most bizarre qualities that this person has, and they're like, "Oh my god, how did you even see that?" I'm like, "That like mole on the back of his neck. Oh my god." Looks
Meanwhile, you like clocked that months ago, and you've been thinking about it, but you won't say it.
I've just stored it like in the back burner in case this day ever came.
I have like this issue with friends that like when they have a breakup and they're talking like crazy about their ex, I'll kind of play devil's advocate, which is so bad. Don't be like, okay, this isn't you. Like you don't need to be saying these things. Like this doesn't help, but I feel like sometimes it just does. Like the first week it does help to just talk like pure shit.
Yeah, I feel like there's like stages of it, and you kind of need to like roast somebody, just like totally kind of go in on the person and make them feel better. And then you want like a week of grieving. After that, it's like time to like get your shit back together. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to be like sitting in misery forever.
Yeah. With those sort of relationships, a lot of times I feel like women feel like they can't speak up in their relationship. How do you think women can prioritize their own sexual pleasure and needs in relationships?
Let me think. Probably just kind of, again, like once you get to the point where you're exclusively seeing each other and you kind of get a lot more comfortable with like discussions and communicating, just tell them what you like. Like ask them what they like. See if you guys like the same things, you know?
It's so simple. Like it doesn't, it seems really complicated.
I know some people just have a hard time being like vocal about it, and we always assume people are mind readers, but they're not.
Yeah. You're like, trust me, they're fucking not. And then the last question we have is you've mentioned that self-confidence has a huge role in a healthy sex life and relationship. Why do you think this is? Like, why do you think that having your own self-confidence is so important?
Because I feel like that definitely comes across, like if you're insecure in the bedroom, it just kind of ruins it, you know?
Yeah.
Like there could be a girl who's a 10, literally across the board, but she's very insecure and like doesn't feel sure of herself. And that in the, like when you're hooking up with somebody, I feel like that's very obvious.
Yeah.
And it kind of just like ruins the experience. Like just own it. Love your body, love your, you know, womanhood, your sexuality, and I feel like you're good. Okay, guys, that wraps up today's episode of On Air. We talked about all things sex life, the importance of having confidence, communicating your sexual desires, and what else? How to pace yourself so that you don't put out too quick and then get looked at as just like, you know, a fling. You want to be seen as the queen that you are and have self-respect for yourself. And is that it?
And don't black out on the first date.
Don't black out on the first date, yeah. Don't slam any shots of tequila on night one because you will be...
You'll regret it.
Okay, well, until next time. Bye, guys. Thanks for tuning in.